Alright, now I got all that stuff out of the way, let's get to actually working in substance. So, where should I start? Well, maybe I'll start with a cloth just because that's going to be fairly simple. Close that out. And I'm going to look for a nice fabric material in either materials or the smart materials. Let's just see what they've got in here. A lot of these fabrics are camo for some reason. Comes with a lot of default pre-made materials. They're almost all camo. I can find one that's just a fairly simple material. That looks more like canvas. I don't want denim for this. Fabric composite, that's not it. Canvas, burlap, baseball hat, synthetic, fiberglass, what I have in the regular materials. Fabric, cotton jersey, denim, felt, lace, I don't think so. Linen, maybe. I can start with linen, maybe, and see how that works. So I'm going to go to my layers. I'm just going to drag this in here, and it throws fabric on everything. I see. I don't particularly want this to be transparent. So I'm going to go into down here. I'm going to turn off opacity. There. It's also going on everything. And it's the wrong color. So I'm going to make some adjustments to this. First things first, I'm going to start with the blue-black parts of the model. So I'm going to right-click. I'm going to assign a black mask, and that hides it everywhere. And then I can find the polygon fill. I'm going to set that to object, and this is 0 to 1. If I set it to 1, it'll paint that 100% back onto that object, and this object. So those are now using this, and go back to my fabric. And there's my tiling right here. I should be able to increase the tiling until the fabric size is more of an impression and less of, oh look, I can see every single thread. And then down here, warp color and weft color. Those are the two directions that the fibers in fabric go. So to make both of these slightly different variations of a very, very dark blue. Slight variation of them, so they don't look exactly the same. So you get some, impression of this not being completely the same in both directions. Maybe I'll make one of them less blue. I'll make both of them less blue. There. And if I want to, if I look at my original image that I'd been working with, there's sort of a gradation on this little strip of cloth right here, as well as the sides being slightly different colors. So what I could do is I'll make a fill layer, and I'm going to turn off everything except the color on that fill layer right there. And I'm going to make this color dark, off brown kind of a color like that. And make maybe a slightly richer color. Yeah. I'm going to put a black mask on that as well. And if I go to my polygon fill, I can tell it to do faces rather than the entire object. See that? And if I set this to working in symmetry, make sure I'm careful where I'm clicking. And you can still see the bump beneath it from the original fabric material. All this is doing is changing the color because all I'm working with is color. So it's just replacing that color. If I also want to have gradation on this, that might be a little bit more trouble. I'm going to try adding a new layer to this. Add a generator. That's what I'm looking for. See here. World space normals. No. Position. There it is. Position. You can see it's already putting a gradient on there. The gradient is being used by the position gradient right here, and right now it is going top to bottom. I want to invert that, like that. And let's see here. I should be able to control things like contrast and balance to control where it's going. And I'm going to change this to be a screen, so it's not going to cover up that one. The problem is it's still affecting everything else on this object. That's fine. I got a trick for that in a second. I just want to make sure I like how this looks. Now, maybe I'll worry about that once I got this isolated. I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to put this in that folder. And the folder is going to have a black mask. I'm going to repaint just this. Now the folder is saying only put this on this object. And then this is saying, well, I'm painting here, and I'm also painting the gradient right there. Yeah, that's about what the reference image had for this. That's all right with me. Now I think I'll make another fabric linen. I'm going to turn off the opacity again. And this one is going to go onto this object and this object. Bring my tiling up. And I think I'm going to make this less brown. Should be fairly clean. There we go. Now, what do I want to use for this belt down here? I'll use the same fabric over and over again. No, not really. It's going to get boring if I keep using the same one. Maybe I'll use this one. Drag that in up here. Right click, black mask. Apply it only to this object right there. Change the color. Increase my tiling. There we go. It looks soft and fuzzy. Definitely looks like some kind of fabric wrapped around her. And let's find a nice set of leather for this. So go back to the smart materials, and I've got some nice looking leathers in here. It's weathered leather, stylized leather, leather sofa, all different leathers. I think I'm going to use the stylized leather. Once again, black mask, assign to those. You can see you get these nice little highlights on the edges, rather like that. And before I move on, I am going to file save scene as. Or sorry, save as. This is no longer Maya. All right, my praying mantis. Praying mantis. Save that in there. There. Now I start working on the body. One of the things I've been thinking about is what to do for the eyes. I'll just make a folder first, so I can put everything in there in case this gets complicated. I'll start off with a fill inside the folder. And what color eyes do I want to give her? Time to give her red eyes or pink eyes. The original version of this was sort of a dark green, but I don't want her all be just green. So either yellow or blue or red. Maybe magenta, maybe a nice bright magenta. Like that. Too bright. And these are the eyes. So I'm going to select my folder and say black mask. If I go back to my painting, instead of doing object, this right here is UV chunk fill. And I'll just fill just those UVs. And because I cut them off in my UVs, they'll stay separate here. So I just fill them in like that. I go find the height in here. Maybe I'll make them slightly metallic. Yeah. There's the height. And I want to see if there's any interesting textures I can use this. Like maybe this circle's right here. Did that not do that? Come on. Oh, they're just too big. I'll increase my tiling until I can actually see them. Now this is the seam right there, so it's causing some issues. And I want to see whether or not I can tell this instead of using UV projection. I'm gonna try triplanar projection, see what happens. Nope, don't like that. Planar projection, cylindrical might work if I can fiddle with the UVs a bit better. Nope, don't like that. See what happens if I can fiddle with the tiling on this. I'm gonna unlock that. There. No, I still don't like that. Well, I think I'll just stick with the UV projection for the time being and just not look back there. Might also help if I go in here, right click, add a filter, and then I'm only gonna make this affect my height, I hope. Blur, and I guess I'll turn it off afterwards. Also, I think I'll throw in levels. Have this also affect my height. And just sort of make that a bit more subtle. Maybe if I increase my repetition a bit more. Nope, too much. Well, the time being, I might just be stuck with that. See how it looks when it exports it. But at least you can't really see it unless you start looking for it. Pity that the triplanar didn't work. For whatever reason, just does not want to hide that. So I think maybe I'll throw in gradients in here. If I use the just right click, I'll do it the easy way. Add generator, I'll find that position again. And then I'll place on top of that filter, gradient, and this will use the grayscale of the gradient to set where these colors go. The bottom, I'll make this dark purple. See that showing up down there. And this one I'll make magenta. Like that. Only using color, and if I change this to like maybe an overlay or something, I'll leave this normal. Then get sort of a gradient in the eyes, make it a bit more interesting, and I can change like the opacity of this. So it's a subtle gradient, like that. Oh dear, how'd that happen? Didn't notice that in mine, unfortunately. The cool thing is, I can actually fix that in Maya and bring it back in. I'll be right back. All right, and I fixed that in Maya, and if I want to fix that in here, I already exported a new FBX. I can just go to re-import mesh. It's been fixed, but it still has this dark line there. So I go back to my cloth, texture settings, I'm going to rebake those mesh maps, but only for the cloth. So I'll tell this, my cloth selected, I'm going to bake the cloth. Return, and now that dark line is gone. So little mistakes like that, easy to fix. All right. Back to my body again. The eyes are taken care of. Oh, there we go. Whenever I add one, it tends to add it back to the group I just had selected. And I want to think about what I want this to look like. Well, first of all, I probably want it to be kind of greenish color, maybe faintly yellowish. Do I want it to be super shiny? Well, maybe not that shiny. So I'm going to increase my roughness. Unfortunately, Substance Painter does not have a pre-made praying mantis exoskeleton material, so I have to make my own now. And I think, looking at my reference, I've got some that are fairly smooth and some that have little dark spots and splotches on them. I think I kind of prefer the dark spots and splotches. So I'm going to try adding a fill layer to this, and this fill layer is only going to worry about the color for right now. And let's see what kind of noise they have in here. Some grunge in here, maybe. Maybe I can use that. Set this to multiply and just reduce my opacity a little bit. That's the wrong one. Now I've got little dark splotches here and there. Maybe I'll throw some blur on that. Filter, blur. I'll set that so it's only affecting the color. You know what I think I'd like to do instead? Instead of putting it directly on this, I'm going to make a new fill and try putting it on that. That way I can add a bit of control to where it shows up. So I'm going to go back to my base color. I'm going to find that grunge again. There it is. Add a little blur on it. Why do I keep doing that instead of putting it on and then changing it? Put the triplanar just so it hide the seams a little bit better. I'm going to increase my time to reduce the scale. And set that to multiply. I'm going to add white mask to this. And the mask, add a fill. I'm going to find my body ambient. Oops, I still have noise typed in. No wonder I can't find anything. There we go. Ambient occlusion from mesh cloth, ambient occlusion from mesh body. There's some levels, and I'm going to make this so it doesn't show up when it's really close to other objects. It'll just be some of the wide open areas like this. Now, at the moment, this is covering up the eyes and everything else on here, so I'm going to select both of these and put them both in a new folder. Write those in here. White mask. And this time I'm going to mask out all the UVs I don't want. So it's set to 0 now. Don't want those. You know, I don't think I'll put it on here either. Make that slight different color. These definitely want that to be different. But for the most part, I'll be fine with that. I don't want this either, but I'm just going to make something new to cover that up with later. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. And I'm going to make something else real quick. Another layer in here. Also color. This one I'm going to find my curve of the body. Curvature. Mesh body. Let's see what that looks like right here. Well, I was kind of hoping that I'd have a bit more showing up right on this edges right here. But it's got a little bit at least. Set that to overlay, I think. As I fiddle with the levels a little bit, maybe. Yeah, doesn't really do much of anything here. Let's try the ambient this then. I want to try and get something that has a dark line around these spots, and I'm not seeing anything happening there. Well, it's worth a shot. All right. But I will make something that's going to be a special color for the spikes right here. Have a darkish reddish color, as I recall. Reddish brownish. And you can see they're covering the whole thing. I only want them to show up on these spikes. And if I wanted to do this by painting out all these spikes, it would take a long time even if I do that in my UV. So instead, I'm going to tell this to create a mask with color selection. And then down here, I tell this to pick color. And there's the bright yellow. Click on the bright yellow. And now it only shows up where that bright yellow was. Look at that. Much simpler. And I think I do want to have something matching that kind of sort of, but blending across this long spike right here. So I think I'm going to select this. I'm going to duplicate that and just delete this. I'm going to clear it, I guess. There we go. And going to find that generator again, position, invert that. So it's going from the top, start from the bottom up. I'll make another fill layer above that. And I'm going to, in this fill layer, oh, sorry, I didn't want a fill layer. I want a paint layer. Paint. There we go. I'll go to my polygon fill. I'm going to start off by making everything black so I don't have anything showing up. Then I'll paint back in on the UVs here and here. And there we go. And I'm going to set this to multiply. Now I can fill the position until I get the results that I like. These bits right here are much darker colors, I recall. Make another layer for that in here. I'll make it so black. I'll make it like a really, really dark green. They match up a little bit better with the rest of it. Black mask. Paint those back in. Oh yes, this is not supposed to be there. Or in here. Or even here, I think. Thanks for adding a bit of variety into this. It's a little too light green, I think. So right now I just want to make it so I can see that there's a difference. Now I can go back and change it afterwards. I have some on there at least. It's back on there. Just so I can have this on it. Yeah. It does make a little bit of a difference. I think on this, I'm going to add another paint layer. It's a regular paint layer. Paint that black. Paint out some of that on the head. Just a little too distracting, I think. And just have it. Where'd it go? There it is. That just sort of helping to sort of reduce how extreme the modeling is on the face, so it doesn't show up quite so much. Oh, I might want to redo that too, but I don't think you can see it, so it doesn't matter. All right. Make a new layer, and this is not going to be part of any of this. I can drag it out of there. It's way in the middle. There we go. It's going to be dark, 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 almost black. Also be very, very rough, but it's not shiny. I'm going to put some ridges of some sort on. Let's try this and see how that looks. I want this to be black masked out and then painted back in again. Places there, there, and there. And there too. I think I'll throw a blur on that so it's not quite so extreme. The height, just barely sort of taking the edge off a little bit. Yeah, what about these? Funnily enough, those are almost kind of a gold in the references I've picked for it. Wonder how that would look if I made these gold. Or maybe bronze. I actually kind of like that. And what should I do for the antenna? Make them black? Or should I use this one right here for them too? Will this look on my antenna? Too much. I just add a dark color to them. Yeah, make them slightly shiny. One of the things I like to do is above everything, I'll throw in either ambient occlusion or a curve or both. Body, yep. Set to overlay. If I do that, it kind of brings out some of the curves in the geometry. Darkens it up a bit too much, I can always throw levels on it. So I kind of had some separation between these joints and things like that. I'll throw another one on here for ambient occlusion. See what that adds to it. I'll set that one to multiply. I suppose just creating darkness from these areas in there. I don't really like that. So I'll leave that off. What if I were to take this, copy that, put it onto the cloth? And the cool thing is, it'll automatically change this from the body curvature map to the cloth curvature map because it's being reused in the cloth texture set, which is really nice. See what that adds to it. Add anything? A little bit of separation in there. Maybe a little too much. I'll focus more on the light than the dark. Yeah, I kind of like that. Save it. I'm going to export these and bring them back into Maya. Export textures. And I'm going to set these up for Arnold AI standard. Send these into my source images for my praying mantis. And I'm going to make these full 4K map. Now if I look in here, metalness, what's this? Roughness, normal, height, and emissive. I don't need height or emissive because I'm using my normal for the height. Don't have anything glows, so I don't need emissive. My cloth, same thing for that. And as I recall, I don't have anything metallic in the cloth, so I can turn off metalness. I don't need to export that. One less thing to worry about. All right, global settings, export. All right, it should be done. And now I can go back into Maya. All right, I'm back in Maya. And first things first, I'm going to get rid of the colors from the vertices on this. So mesh display, remove color, apply. There we go. No more colors from that. And then if I go to the material attributes for the body, for instance, I don't want to use a blend. Blend's kind of boring. So I'm going to use the AI standard surface like that. I need to rename that. I name it AI body AI SS for standard surface. Now I can click on the checkerboards, little checker patterns next to each of the attributes that I want to apply my materials to apply my materials as I go. So I'm going to start off with the color, find the file, body, base color, and there it is. Metalness, I do have some metal on here, the knees and the eyes, so I did need my metalness map for that. Metalness. Here's the thing about these ones right here. This is a color. This is not a color. This is a number. Whenever I add something as a number instead of a color, a black and white one like that, I have to make a couple changes in my settings for the file itself. sRGB, change that to utility raw, and turn on alpha's luminance. Otherwise, it doesn't know what it's doing. Same thing for roughness. So I'm going to add my roughness in first. Roughness, utility raw, alpha's luminance. And my normal map is under geometry. Bump mapping. File. Again, change this from bump map to tangent space normals. Then I can go into here to find my file itself. Ocean's body normal. Raw, and that's already got the alpha's luminance turned on. There you go. Now I go to the clothing. Change this to AI standard surface. File for the color. Praying mantis substance cloth base color. Doesn't change anything here because this is a color. It's got a color box right here, not a number. There's no metalness on this, so I'm going to leave that alone. But there is a roughness. I'm going to find that. Change these. Bump mapping. Change this to tangent space. Find my normal map. Raw. Now, it doesn't look particularly interesting at the moment because there's no lighting in the scene. I'm going to do a quick save scene as. Materials. And I'm going to go Arnold, Lights, Sky Dome Light. And it just puts a big sphere around everything. If I put an HDR image onto the sphere, it'll act like a light for the scene where that HDR image was taken. Here's my tropical beach. There it is. Now, nothing happens at first until I hit the 7 on my keyboard. And now she's being lit by the environment she's in. You can actually see the roughness in the cloth, shine the eyes. And there she is. Next thing, I'm going to try to figure out how to create a rig so I can, animate her if I ever wanted to. or at the very least, poser.